For real. They get up early in the morning, and they get up, I be laying in the bed.
They came to me. I was supposed to be the fourth king. I got the offer,
What
but I turned it down.
Why?
Because you shit on Bernie. And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you shit on Bernie and then come get me? I'm the next king? Fuck you.
Bernie Mac's funeral was packed with celebrities, cameras, and public grief. But one seat stood out, empty. Katt Williams. The man who respected Bernie more than anyone wasn't there. Hollywood called it disrespect, but Katt's absence wasn't a mistake. It was a message, and the truth behind it is something the industry never wanted exposed. I'll never forget that day, August 16th, 2008, Chicago. The comedy world stopped. Bernie Mac was gone. At his funeral, A-list stars lined up to display grief under flashing cameras, but one chair sat empty, Katt Williams. The man who called himself Bernie's most loyal disciple, who once treated Bernie like the gold standard of comedy, didn't show. No words, no condolences. Instantly, the labels flew. Ungrateful, crazy, troublemaker. But Katt's absence wasn't careless. In Hollywood, every gesture is media ammo. Skipping that funeral was a statement. Why? It wasn't about gratitude. It was about a truth the industry buried along with Bernie Mac. Let's dig into that truth, the bond between Bernie Mac and Katt Williams, the gold standard. People got their relationship wrong from the start. Katt didn't see Bernie as just a colleague. In a brutal world where ego often trumps talent, Bernie was sacred, untouchable. Not a star, the standard. Katt said it plainly. Bernie Mac was the gold standard. The king is the funniest, period. That wasn't flattery. It was respect for a man who spent his life proving that truth matters more than cheap laughs. Bernie didn't compromise. He didn't perform to please. He laid his soul bare. And Katt saw in him something Hollywood couldn't manufacture, authority born from truth. On stage, Bernie held terrifying power. One glare could make 50,000 people roar, then moments later force them to face a brutal truth. Their bond wasn't forged at fancy parties, it came from the mud. Bernie grew up in Chicago's violent South Side. Katt was once homeless. Poverty taught them laughter isn't a gift, it's survival. They were too raw, too black for mainstream Hollywood, but their honesty connected them. Bernie's iconic line, "I ain't scared of you motherfuckers," wasn't just comedy, it was demand for respect. Katt saw in Bernie a reflection of himself, a rebel who'd never bow to industry rules. Backstage, Bernie was a spiritual father. He didn't teach Katt jokes, he taught him to stand firm, protect his identity, care for his family, and never let Hollywood make him a puppet. Katt learned that you can lose money, fame, even shows, but never the truth from your mouth unless you let them. Bernie had the authority to scold him, and Katt, rebellious as he was, listened only to Bernie. Then came Friday After Next in 2002, a milestone for black comedy cinema. Bernie as Uncle Elroy had laid the groundwork. Katt as Money Mike exploded on screen. There was no battle for dominance, just a passing of the torch. Bernie watched, proud, validating Katt's rise. Katt's later attacks on the hypocrisy of Hollywood carried Bernie's spirit with him. That bond turned Katt into a warrior, the rightful heir to the one king he truly acknowledged. It's a lesson. Find a gold standard, not to copy, but to anchor your moral compass. The Silent War, the kings of comedy, when the crown becomes a curse. The 1997-1999 Original Kings of Comedy Tour, legendary. Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, Bernie Mac, 4 names, $37 million in just 2 years. Adjusted today, over $70 million. Arenas packed 10,000 to 15,000 strong. Spike Lee's 2000 documentary added $38 million worldwide on a $3 million budget. 4 kings, but for Katt, the title was a curse. On camera, the camaraderie looks real. Hugs, laughs, locker room banter, Offstage, comedy is lonely. Ego reigns. Everyone wants the longest applause, the biggest paycheck, the crown. Katt saw through the fake smiles. He saw envy, the silent wars over performance order. The closer always matters most. It's the biggest star. But Bernie Mac, no one wanted to go after him. His presence obliterated the stage. "I ain't scared of you, mother." And the audience was shaken, laughing, crying, stunned. Go after him, and you're just cleaning up the wreckage. Steve Harvey claimed the performance order rotated fairly. Katt cut that down flat. No rotation. This was Steve Harvey's tour. He always wanted the last word in the lights. Bernie brought substance. Steve collected glory and money. Audience stats proved it. 70% came to see Bernie, but Steve controlled the narrative. Katt saw the injustice, a giant carrying the show while others pocketed the crown. He hated it. He understood that fairness isn't about talking equal opportunity, it's about respecting real value. The betrayal of silence. This is where it cuts the deepest. When Bernie was still strong, every dollar of his pay was scrutinized, his performance slots manipulated so he wouldn't outshine the rest. Fear of his talent ran deep. Then sarcoidosis weakened him, and do you know what his so-called brothers did? They pushed him to the sidelines. Not publicly. Hollywood doesn't need statements. They reduced his role, cut opportunities, scrubbed his name from future plans. Bernie's health became a liability, a threat to the brand. Katt Williams saw it all. He watched them drain Bernie's labor, then discard him when he was no longer useful. That's why Katt later chose to stand alone. In entertainment, alliances are meaningless when loyalty is broken. To me, Katt is a wandering warrior. No knives, no swords, just the truth. And his biggest target? Steve Harvey, the man Katt believes betrayed Bernie Mac's legacy and his own community. Early 2024, Katt hit Shannon Sharpe's podcast. That wasn't an interview, it was a full-scale explosion. He called out Steve Harvey by name, labeling him an idea thief. You couldn't be a movie star, you were a low-budget Steve Harvey. Borrowed Mark Curry's sitcom persona and somehow became king of comedy. Then came the killer blow, Steve's stand-up career. Katt mocked it mercilessly. 30 years, no favorite joke? Not one? In stand-up, stealing material is sacred crime. Katt exposed how Steve built an empire off others' work without credit. Steve's polished image as a family man, a motivational guru, Katt tore it apart. He reminded everyone how Steve treated Bernie with indifference, weathered divorce shadows while preaching life lessons, abandoned stand-up for Family Feud. Katt called it cowardice. He proved a point. I'm still on stage 2 hours straight telling the truth. Meanwhile, you're on TV asking dumb questions for money. That was Katt asserting who the real king is. People call him extreme, but what you see is rare loyalty. He didn't go after Steve for fame. Katt already had it. He did it to defend Bernie Mac, the man who shaped him, whose betrayal by Hollywood burned in Katt's chest. Bernie Mac, the physical giant, booming voice, eyes always on fire, hid a heartbreaking secret. Behind the suits, sarcoidosis was eating his body. By 2008, complications from pneumonia claimed him. He'd been hospitalized 3 weeks with false updates of stable floating to the press. Fans felt betrayed when news of his death dropped. His wife, Rhonda, begged, "Don't leave me." Bernie managed only a shoulder left before cardiac arrest. Katt's pain? Twofold. The death itself and the Hollywood machine's coldness. He'd watched Bernie on set, high doses of anti-inflammatory swelling his face. Audiences laughed, but Katt knew the collapse was real. Watching Kings of Comedy members continue business as usual while Bernie struggled on a breathing machine, Katt grew bitter. Funeral day? Thousands flooded in, but the one person who truly understood Bernie's soul, Katt Williams, wasn't there. Media called him ungrateful, disloyal, arrogant, but Katt's absence wasn't disrespect, it was respect. He refused to let Bernie's farewell become a Hollywood spectacle. Cameras, fake tears, emotional PR. It wasn't Bernie. Katt grieved privately, preserving the man he loved in his memory. alive, electric, unbroken. Then came the offer, be the next king. After Bernie's death, black comedy lost its fiery soul. Hollywood didn't mourn. They searched for a replacement to keep the cash flowing. Katt Williams, at the peak of his fame, was approached. Step into Bernie's shoes, become the fourth king, shoulder to shoulder with legends. For anyone else, impossible to refuse. For Katt, insult. He didn't look at the money, he saw the truth. Y'all didn't treat Bernie right. That wasn't pride, it was righteous outrage. Bernie deserved so much more. He gave his entire life, carried a whole generation of comedy on his shoulders. But Hollywood, it never protected him, never supported him, never gave him the respect he earned. And the moment Bernie was laid to rest, they turned to Katt, not to honor him, not to make amends, to fill the void. Katt saw it immediately, and he sent a warning with just one act: refusal. He didn't need words. Saying no said it all. That crown, dirty. The path, lonely. The price, enormous. After Bernie's death in 2008, and after Katt refused to join the new Kings of Comedy machine, Hollywood executed a quiet career death sentence. They don't kill you outright. They make the world think you're insane. Between 2010 and 2016, Katt became a very different man. No more polished purple-suited star from Pimp Chronicles. Tabloids had him in their sights: addiction, alleged madness, violence. Target incident, legal trouble in Georgia, you remember. He was provoked, followed, pushed into corners, snapped, and the cameras were ready. Brands backed off, shows vanished. Katt was isolated, a solitary island in an ocean of Hollywood. Let's cut to the point. This is the price of truth in a system built for obedience. In Katt's eyes, stars like Kevin Hart or Cedric the Entertainer aren't just colleagues, they're industry products, groomed, controlled, safe. They laugh when they're supposed to, stay silent when needed, never rock the boat. Rewards? Billion-dollar careers, perfect public images, system protection. Katt? He chose the opposite. He stayed loyal to Bernie Mac, exposed Steve Harvey, called out producers forcing artists to degrade their dignity. And the cost? Reputation. 20-plus years of credibility slowly painted as unstable, difficult, impossible to work with. Katt's brilliance became a problem Hollywood avoided. As he said, bitterly, they'll give you everything if you bow, but stand tall and they take it all back. Imagine seeing the lie everyone else accepts and being the only one willing to call it out. That's Katt's reality. His so-called madness? Self-preservation in extreme isolation. Katt took the lonely road because he knew one thing: it's better to be called crazy for telling the truth than praised for living a lie. That's Bernie Mac's ultimate legacy, and Katt defended it at the highest cost. He refused the machine that indirectly destroyed Bernie. Outsiders might have thought he was flailing, but in reality, he was fighting to stay untainted. Katt Williams proved something profoundly human. Real respect isn't public. Reverence exists only in the silence between you and the soul of the departed. His absence at Bernie's funeral? Not ingratitude. It was the purest form of loyalty. He stayed away from cameras, applause, and fake tears. He stayed beside Bernie when it mattered, alive, struggling, needing him most. For nearly 2 decades, Hollywood called Katt crazy, disruptive, addicted, and in 2024, he returned, unfiltered, speaking truth, and the system shook. Loyalty isn't applause, it's protecting the truth of those no longer here. Legends never die, they live as long as we remember. Silent loyalty, courage, and honesty, that's Katt Williams, that's Bernie Mac. And that's the story behind the kings who refused to be puppets.